November 2, 1944. Black smoke pours from the nose of a P-51 Mustang over Czechoslovakia. Inside the cockpit, Lieutenant Bruce Carr watches the oil pressure fall to zero. A German flak fragment has cut the engine line. The Merlin will seize in less than 90 seconds. When it does, the propeller will lock, and the aircraft will fall out of the sky. Carr has no time to think. He rolls the fighter inverted and drops into freezing air 8,000 feet above enemy territory. He lands hard, injures his ankle, and finds himself alone 100 meters behind German lines. No radio, no food, no help coming. Every rule of survival says surrender and wait for capture. Carr does something else. Within 4 days, he will steal a German fighter aircraft from an active airfield and fly home. The Mustang is already wounded when the flak finds it. Black bursts hang in the cold air over Czechoslovakia, thick and violent, each one a steel fist reaching for the aircraft. Lieutenant Bruce Carr has been here before. Strafing runs are never clean. You go in low, fast, and exposed. You accept the risk because hesitation kills faster than enemy fire. 30 seconds earlier, Carr was pressing the attack. His P-51 was skimming over a German airfield, guns firing, tracers walking across hangars and parked aircraft. Then the cockpit changes its tone. The engine sound loses its smooth pull and becomes a grinding scream. The oil pressure needle drops straight down, zero. That single movement tells him everything he needs to know. An 88mm shell fragment has torn through the engine compartment. The oil line is gone. Without oil, the Merlin will destroy itself from the inside. Bearings seize, pistons lock. Carr has flown long enough to know the math. 90 seconds, maybe less. After that, the propeller becomes dead weight and the fighter turns into a glider that does not glide well. The Mustang is still moving fast, still responding, but it is already dying. Smoke pours back along the fuselage, streaking the canopy. The smell of burned oil and hot metal fills the cockpit. Carr keeps the nose level, keeps his hands steady. Panic would waste time he does not have. Below him is occupied Europe. German towns, forest, roads filled with enemy patrols. He is deep behind the lines. There will be no friendly faces waiting on the ground. He looks once more at the engine gauges. Nothing is coming back. The decision is already made. Carr slides the canopy open. Cold air slams into the cockpit. He pulls the Mustang into a roll, inverts the aircraft, and lets gravity take him. The fighter flashes away above him, still smoking, still fast, still doomed. For a moment there is silence. Then the wind roars. Free fall is brief. Training takes over. At 8,000 feet, Carr pulls the ripcord. The parachute snaps open with a violent jerk that rips the breath from his chest. The white silk blooms above him against the gray sky. He is alive, for now. The ground rises quickly. Forests rush up in a blur of dark green and brown. He hits hard. His feet strike first. His ankle twists sharply under his weight. Pain shoots up his leg. He rolls and comes to a stop among dead leaves and frozen soil. The parachute collapses around him like a shroud. Carr lies still, listening. No shouting, no gunfire. Just wind through trees and the distant echo of war. He forces himself to stand. The ankle holds, but it screams with every movement. He knows better than to stay where he landed. Parachutes drop patrols. They always do. He gathers the silk canopy, drags it into the undergrowth, and buries it beneath leaves and branches. It is clumsy work with one good leg. Sweat runs down his back despite the cold. When he finishes, there is no sign of white fabric left in the open. Good enough. Carr checks what he has. A .45 pistol, 7 rounds, no radio, no food, no water. His flight suit offers little protection against November nights in Central Europe. The temperature will drop below freezing. He knows this because he has studied maps and briefings, not because he has lived it yet. He forces himself to think clearly. Where am I? How far am I? Who is looking for me? He knows the airfield he attacked lies to the north, roughly 5 miles away. He knows German search patterns. Patrols fan outward from the landing point. They expect pilots to run toward friendly lines. South, west, away from danger. Carr does not move in that direction. He heads north. The choice is deliberate, counterintuitive, dangerous, and logical. If he moves toward the enemy, he moves where they least expect him. He also moves toward supplies. Food, water, shelter, maybe even a chance to survive longer than a few days. He keeps off roads. He avoids open ground. He moves slowly, carefully, testing his injured ankle with every step. Each footfall is pain, but pain is manageable. Capture is not. Night falls early. The forest darkens. Carr finds a shallow depression and waits. He does not light a fire. He does not move more than necessary. Cold seeps through his clothes. Hunger gnaws at him, but remains distant. Adrenaline still carries him. Day 1 ends without contact. Day 2 is worse. The pain in his ankle is constant now. Swelling makes his boot tight. He moves slower, forced to stop often. He finds a narrow stream and drinks from it, kneeling low, scanning the trees as the icy water burns his throat. It is the first thing he has consumed since the mission. Later that afternoon, he hears voices. German patrol, close. Carr drops into a ditch and presses himself into the mud. He barely breathes. Boots crunch on frozen leaves not far away. He can hear their casual talk, the scrape of equipment, the metallic clink of rifle slings. They are not rushing. They are methodical, confident. 2 hours pass. Carr does not move. His muscles cramp. His injured ankle throbs. Finally, the voices fade. The forest is silent again. That night, the cold becomes the enemy. Without movement, without insulation, it cuts deep. Carr curls into himself and waits for dawn, counting minutes, forcing his mind away from fear. Day 3 strips away illusion. Hunger is no longer an inconvenience. It is a pressure inside his skull, a weakness in his limbs. His body is burning thousands of calories just to stay warm. He has nothing left to burn. Fat disappears first. Muscle comes next. He understands what is happening to him. He has flown enough missions to respect numbers. Survival is a calculation. American pilots shot down over occupied territory do not do well. Some escape. Most do not. Many vanish entirely. Carr knows about prisoner camps. Stalag Luft Fw. Other pilots have told him about it. Boring, cold, but survivable. Food, Red Cross packages. Letters from home. Compared to this forest, it sounds almost inviting. The thought settles in his mind. Surrender is not failure. It is survival. That evening, he decides. Tomorrow he will give himself up. The Luftwaffe treats captured airmen better than other branches. There is a code among pilots. Carr believes that. He has seen it. He has lived it in the air. With that decision made, the tension eases slightly. He sleeps better than he has since hitting the ground. Day 4. Late afternoon, he reaches the edge of the forest. Through the trees, he sees it. The German airfield. Hangars, fuel trucks, aircraft lined up in neat rows. The ordered machinery of war operating just beyond his reach. He positions himself in a tree line overlooking the eastern perimeter. From here, he can observe without being seen. He plans to wait until morning. Walk to the main gate, hands up, and this. Then he notices something else. A revetment sits about 80 yards from his position. Earth piled high, camouflage netting draped loosely across it. Inside rests a single aircraft, a Focke-Wulf fighter, an Fw-190. Two German mechanics work beneath portable lights. Carr watches them closely. They check fuel levels, full tanks. They inspect control surfaces. They run the engine. The distinctive roar of the BMW radial fills the night air, deep and powerful. The propeller cycles, magnetos checked. Everything thorough, everything calm. Then they shut it down. They cover the cockpit. They walk away. The aircraft is ready to fly. Carr does not move. He does not rush. He watches the revetment long after the mechanics disappear. No guards arrive. No alarm sound. The fighter sits alone in the dark. His mind begins to work. He has never flown a German aircraft. He does not speak German. He does not know where the switches are or how the systems operate. But he knows airplanes. He has over 500 combat hours. He understands lift, thrust, and control, throttle, stick, rudder. Those do not change because the labels are different. What he is looking at is a fully fueled fighter aircraft sitting unguarded inside enemy territory. The surrender plan weakens. Carr waits until the early morning hours. 3 in the morning, the airfield is quiet. Night crews are thin. No movement near the revetment. He moves, 80 yards of open ground. No cover, no shadows. He stays low and moves fast, favoring his injured ankle despite the pain screaming up his leg. 40 seconds. That is all it takes. No one looks his way. The Fw-190 looms larger up close, bigger than he expected, heavy, solid, built for punishment. He climbs onto the wing. The canopy is unlocked. He slides it back and drops into the cockpit. Inside, nothing makes sense. Every gauge is labeled in German. Gothic script fills the instrument panel. The cockpit is cramped compared to the Mustang. His knees press close to the panel. The control stick rests naturally in his right hand. The throttle sits on the left. That much is familiar. Carr does not rush. He has hours before sunrise, but not many. He traces wires, studies layout, identifies instruments by position and shape, airspeed, altimeter, engine gauges, fuel selectors. The starter is the mystery. On the right side, he finds a T-shaped handle with German text. He guesses. He pulls it. Nothing. He pushes it. A mechanical whine fills the cockpit. An inertia starter spinning up. He waits. 10 seconds. 20. Then he pulls the handle again. The engine coughs, then roars. The sound is overwhelming. 1,700 horsepower at idle. Thunder in metal form. Carr knows every man on the airfield can hear it now. There is no more planning, only action. He pushes the throttle forward. The FW-190 surges ahead. The escape has begun. The FW-190 rolls forward harder than Carr expects. The aircraft feels heavy but eager, like a restrained animal suddenly released. The tail rises almost immediately. The nose points down the narrow strip of open ground ahead. There is no runway in front of him, only darkness, hangars, and the faint shapes of buildings rushing closer by the second. Carr has no time to search for a proper takeoff path. He steers between the hangars, judging distance by instinct and shadow. Ground crew begin to emerge from doorways. Shapes move. Arms point. Someone shouts. The engine noise is impossible to ignore. Every second increases the chance that someone reaches a weapon. Airspeed builds fast. 60, 70. The hangars loom large. At 90 miles per hour, Carr pulls back gently on the stick. The FW-190 lifts off the ground, clearing the hangar roofs by what feels like inches. The wheels leave the earth. The fighter climbs into the night. He is airborne. 200 meters behind enemy lines, flying a German fighter aircraft he has never touched before, marked with black crosses and a swastika, without radio, charts, or instructions. The first impossible step is already complete. Now comes the harder part. Carr forces himself to slow down mentally even as the aircraft accelerates. Panic here would kill him faster than enemy fire. He handles problems one at a time. The aircraft feels stable, powerful, responsive. Different from the Mustang, but not alien. Airplanes obey physics, not language. Landing gear comes first. He scans the cockpit, searching for a familiar shape. A lever on the left console looks promising. He pulls it. A solid mechanical sound follows. The aircraft shudders slightly. A glance outside confirms the wheels are retracting. One problem solved. Next is direction. Carr finds the compass. He orients himself west-southwest. That should take him toward France, toward Allied lines. The FW-190 continues to gain speed easily. This machine was built for combat at low and medium altitude. It feels strong, confident, almost aggressive. Altitude becomes the next decision. Climbing would be safer for terrain, but deadly for detection. At altitude, German radar will see him. German fighters will intercept him. Anti-aircraft batteries will track him. Carr knows exactly what happens to lone aircraft that show up unexpectedly on German radar screens. He pushes the nose down. The fighter drops to treetop level. 50 feet above the ground, 280 miles per hour. The forest becomes a green blur beneath the wings. Individual trees vanish into streaks of shadow and motion. This is reckless flying by any standard. One mistake, one unseen rise in terrain, and the aircraft will disintegrate. But at this height, he is invisible to radar, to low for flak, to fast for rifles. It is the narrow space where survival still exists. Carr settles into the flight. The sun begins to rise behind him. Pale light creeps over the horizon, revealing fields, villages, roads. The landscape changes steadily beneath the wings. Forest gives way to farmland. The scars of war appear everywhere. Craters, burned buildings. Scarred roads clogged with military traffic. The fuel gauge still reads full. The mechanics did their job well. The FW-190 has range to spare. France is roughly 200 miles away. The numbers favor him for once. For 45 minutes, Carr flies west. Then the war changes again. As he crosses into Allied-controlled territory, he enters the most dangerous airspace of the entire flight. Friendly guns are alert, nervous, and well-trained. They are watching the sky for German attackers exactly like the aircraft Carr is flying. They see him. Anti-aircraft fire opens almost immediately. Tracers arc upward from every direction. 50 caliber machine guns hammer the air around him. Carr hears impacts on the fuselage, feels vibrations through the controls. The German fighter absorbs punishment with brutal efficiency, but each hit could still be fatal. He has no radio, no recognition signals, no way to announce himself. The aircraft still carries full German markings. To every Allied gunner below, this is a low-level enemy fighter making a fast attack run. Carr is the only thing left to him. He flies lower. 20 feet above the ground, hedge hopping. The propeller wash kicks dust and debris into the air behind him. Roads blur beneath his wings. Vehicles scatter. Soldiers dive for cover. Rifles fire uselessly upward. Every gun in France seems to be shooting at him. Carr later estimates that every 50 caliber machine gun in existence took shots at him during that final sprint. Whether that is true or not, it feels that way in the cockpit. The noise never stops. The sky is full of tracer fire. The aircraft shudders repeatedly but keeps flying. German engineering does not fail him now. Through the chaos, Carr recognizes familiar ground, a patchwork of fields, a tree line. The layout of runways and buildings he has seen hundreds of times from the air. Home, a 66 airfield. Kontavle, base of the 354th Fighter Group. Relief comes and vanishes in the same instant. As he lines up for approach, he reaches for the landing gear lever again. He pulls it. Nothing happens. He tries again. Still nothing. Carr searches the cockpit quickly, eyes darting from panel to panel. He looks for warning lights. Tries the lever again. Pumps it. No response. The gear remains locked up inside the wings. The realization hits hard. He does not know how the system works. The FW-190 uses hydraulic pressure to operate its landing gear. A selector valve directs pressure to either extend or retract. Carr does not know where that valve is. He does not know which lever controls it. He has been pulling the wrong handle for minutes. Below him, the base comes alive. Allied anti-aircraft crews see a German fighter circling their field. They move quickly and efficiently. 40mm guns are rolled into position. Ammunition feeds into place. Crews take cover. They are preparing to destroy him. Carr makes another calculation. He cannot loiter. He cannot circle. He cannot risk another pass while searching blindly for controls. The odds of surviving another minute in the air are dropping fast. He decides to belly land. He lines up beside the main runway, choosing grass over concrete. Grass will slow the aircraft more gently. He lowers the flaps, one system he has already identified. The nose rises slightly. He cuts the throttle. The FW-190 sinks. 100 feet, 50, 20. The aircraft hits the ground at 90 miles per hour. Metal screams against earth. Dirt and mud explode upward in a massive rooster tail. The fighter slides across the field for 300 yards, shedding speed violently, grinding itself down until friction finally wins. Then it stops. For a moment, everything is silent. Carr sits still, heart pounding, hands gripping the controls. He is alive. That moment ends quickly. The FW-190 is surrounded within seconds. Military police rush forward with rifles raised. Shouts fill the air. Orders are screamed. They expect a German pilot. They expect resistance. They expect blood. The canopy slides back. A mud-covered American in a torn flight suit climbs onto the wing. Carr identifies himself. No one believes him. He has been missing for days. Officially listed as down over enemy territory. Possibly captured. Possibly dead. Instead, he has just belly landed a German fighter on an American airfield. Rifles stay trained on him. Only when senior officers arrive does the truth begin to sink in. The captured aircraft sits in the grass, damaged but intact. German markings are still visible beneath the mud. There is no denying what happened. Carr is escorted away, exhausted, injured, barely standing. The impossible flight is over. The story, however, has only begun. The field is still quiet when Carr is pulled away from the wrecked fighter, but the silence does not last long. Within minutes, word spreads across the airfield. A German FW-190 has landed intact. The pilot claims to be American. No one knows what to do with that information at first. Procedures exist for captured enemy aircraft. Procedures exist for rescued pilots. There are no procedures for this. Carr is escorted to a nearby building, still limping badly, still covered in mud and oil. His ankle has swollen to the size of a grapefruit. His hands shake from cold, hunger, and adrenaline finally draining away. He is given water, then food. He eats slowly at first, forcing himself not to rush. His body has been empty too long. Questions begin immediately. Where did you come from? How did you get that aircraft? Where is your unit? Carr answers everything calmly. He gives names, dates, serial numbers. He describes the shoot-down, his days on the ground, the airfield in Czechoslovakia, the mechanics, the revetment, the flight back. Some officers listen with fascination, others with open disbelief. The wrecked FW-190 outside answers questions words cannot. Intelligence officers arrive quickly, so do engineers. The aircraft is photographed, measured, inspected. Despite the belly landing, it is largely intact. Its engine, weapons, and systems represent valuable information at a time when German aircraft are becoming more advanced and harder to counter. Carr is examined by a medical officer. The ankle is badly sprained but not broken. He is exhausted, dehydrated, and malnourished, but otherwise intact. Considering what he has just done, that feels almost miraculous. Later that day, Colonel George Bicknell, commanding officer of the 354th Fighter Group, arrives to see the pilot who should not exist. He studies Carr for a long moment, then the damaged German fighter behind him. His reaction is not anger or disbelief. It is confusion mixed with reluctant admiration. Carr is sent to debriefing. The room is small, plain, and crowded. Intelligence officers take notes while Carr walks through the story again, slower this time, more detail. He describes identifying the starter system by sound. He explains why he flew low, why he avoided altitude, why he chose to belly land instead of circling. Each decision sounds logical when spoken calmly. That does not make it less unbelievable. The report grows longer by the hour. That night, Carr sleeps in a real bed for the first time in days. His body collapses into the mattress. Dreams come fast and chaotic. Engine noise, flak burst, trees rushing past at impossible speed. He wakes before dawn, disoriented, then remembers where he is. The next day is passed in a strange blur. Carr is officially listed as returned to duty. His name is quietly removed from missing status. The stolen FW-190 is flown away for further examination, leaving behind only flattened grass and deep gouges in the earth where it slid to a stop. The story spreads anyway. Pilots talk, ground crews talk, mechanics talk. The downed pilot who stole a German fighter becomes a legend almost overnight. Some details grow larger with each retelling. Others are simplified. What remains constant is the core truth. A man did what no one thought possible. Carr does not seek attention. He spends most of his time recovering, walking carefully, rebuilding strength. Hunger lingers in his body for days. His ankle heals slowly. He listens more than he talks. He knows something important has changed. Before the shoot-down, Carr was known as an aggressive pilot, skilled, confident, sometimes reckless. The type of officer commanders watch closely. Now he is something else. Proof that imagination and nerve can reshape a situation entirely. Within weeks, he is flying again. The P-51 feels familiar in a new way. After the cramped cockpit of the FW-190, the Mustang feels open and forgiving. The Merlin engine sounds smooth and reassuring. Carr treats the aircraft with respect, but not fear. He trusts it. He trusts himself. Combat resumes. The war in Europe is grinding toward its final phase. German resistance is weakening, but not gone. Luftwaffe units still appear suddenly, still dangerous, still capable of killing careless pilots. Fuel shortages and inexperienced replacements plague German squadrons, but numbers can still overwhelm. Carr returns to leading flights, escort missions, armed reconnaissance, strafing runs. He does not fly recklessly, but he does not hesitate. He understands now that survival depends as much on decision-making as skill. On October 29, 1944, days before his shoot-down, Carr had already proven that. 2 Messerschmitt fighters destroyed in a single mission. 7.5 confirmed kills total, a status earned before the crash. After his return, his reputation changes tone. Pilots trust him instinctively. When Carr calls a maneuver, they follow. When he commits, they commit. He has demonstrated something beyond marksmanship. He has demonstrated judgment under pressure that borders on instinct. Winter tightens its grip on Europe. By early 1945, the Luftwaffe is struggling to hold the sky. Training standards have collapsed. Fuel shortages limit flight time. Many German pilots now entering combat have only a fraction of the experience Carr accumulated before his 20th birthday. But desperation makes the enemy unpredictable. On April 2, 1945, Carr is leading a flight of Mustangs on a routine reconnaissance mission near Schweinfurt, Germany. The altitude is moderate, the air is clear. The mission is expected to be quiet. It is not. Carr spots movement above them. Dark shapes against the sky, then more, and more. A massive formation stacked in layers from 18,000 to 25,000 feet, German fighters, dozens of them. Carr counts quickly. At least 60 aircraft. Messerschmitt 109s and Focke-Wulf 190s mixed together. Late war variants, faster, heavier, better armed. For American fighters against 60 German. Every training manual written says disengage. Report the sighting, preserve your force, live to fight later. The Germans hold altitude advantage, numbers, and position. This is not a fair fight. It is not even a fight by conventional standards. Carr does not follow the manual. He understands something others do not. The German formation is large, but loose. They do not expect contact here. They are likely conserving fuel, moving to intercept bombers. Their attention is forward, not down. Carr keys his radio and signals engagement. His wingmen do not question him. They have flown with him long enough to understand what that means. They tighten formation, engines roar. For Mustangs climb toward the enemy, the Germans react slowly. Carr slips into the formation from below and behind. He selects a target, a Messerschmitt drifting slightly out of position. The German pilot never sees him. A short burst of .50 caliber fire. The aircraft explodes in midair. Carr shifts immediately to the next target, then the next. The German formation breaks apart in confusion. Pilots scatter, unsure how many Americans are attacking. Tracers flash everywhere. In 3 minutes, Carr destroys 5 enemy aircraft. His wingmen add 10 more. 15 German fighters fall out of the sky. No American losses. When ammunition runs low, Carr pulls his flight out of the fight. The surviving German pilots scatter, fleeing in every direction. The sky empties as quickly as it filled. Carr leads his men home. A week later, he is promoted to captain. The Distinguished Service Cross is awarded for his actions. The citation emphasizes his disregard for personal safety and the overwhelming numerical superiority of the enemy. He has become the last ace in a day in the European theater. By the end of the war, Carr has flown 170 to combat missions. His confirmed victories total 14 or 15, depending on records. He is 21 years old. The war does not end his career. He flies jets. He flies in Korea. He flies in Vietnam. 3 wars, 3 generations of aircraft. More than 500 combat missions in total. He retires in 1973. When Bruce Carr dies in 1998, he is buried at Arlington National Cemetery. His headstone lists his rank and decorations. It lists his wars. It does not mention the stolen German fighter. It does not mention the 4 days in the forest. Some stories are too large for stone. Carr's true legacy is not the FW-190, or the ace status, or the medals. It is the pattern that connects them. When faced with impossible odds, he did not accept the choices presented to him. He searched for another. That instinct carried him through fire in the sky, hunger on the ground, and chaos in combat. It is the thread that binds every chapter of his life. And it began the moment his Mustang began to die over Czechoslovakia, when he chose not to fall with it. After the spring battles of 1945, the war in Europe begins to collapse inward. German resistance still exists, but it is fragmented, uneven, and often desperate. For pilots like Bruce Carr, the sky no longer feels crowded with equals. It feels unpredictable. One day quiet, the next violently alive. Carr continues flying through the final weeks of the conflict. Missions blur together, escort runs, armed reconnaissance. Strafing columns of vehicles trying to escape westward before the front closes. Each flight carries danger, but nothing like the early years of the war. The Luftwaffe is bleeding up. Carr notices the change immediately. Enemy pilots brake sooner. They climb less aggressively. They make mistakes experienced men would never make. Some fights end without shots fired as German aircraft scatter at the first sign of Mustangs. Others end violently when fear overrides judgment. Carr adapts to this new air war quickly. He flies with discipline now, not recklessness. He still attacks when the situation demands it, but he understands the broader picture better than ever. Survival is no longer about daring alone. It is about control, timing, and knowing when pressure will break the enemy without direct engagement. When Germany surrenders in May 1945, Carr is still in uniform. He is young, experienced, and restless. Many pilots leave the service. Carr does not. Flying has shaped him completely. He transitions into the post-war Air Force as aviation enters a new era. Jet engines replace propellers, speeds double, altitudes climb. The rules of combat change, but the fundamentals remain. Situational awareness, energy management, decision-making under pressure. Carr adapts again. He joins the Acrojets, one of the first jet demonstration teams in the United States. Flying the F-80 Shooting Star, he performs precision maneuvers that push early jet aircraft to their limits. These flights are not combat, but they demand total focus. Mistakes at jet speed leave no room for recovery. Carr thrives. The cockpit remains his natural environment. The sensation of speed, the balance between aggression and restraint, the constant calculation of what the aircraft can do and what the pilot dares to ask of it. These elements have never changed for him. Then Korea begins. The war feels different from Europe. The terrain is harsh, the weather brutal. The enemy is determined and skilled. Carr flies the F-86 Sabre, a sleek swept-wing jet designed for high-speed combat. Dogfights return, but at transonic speeds now, where reaction time shrinks to fractions of seconds. Carr completes 57 combat missions in Korea. He survives again. He leads again. His experience spans to completely different air wars now: propeller and jet, piston engines and swept wings. By the mid-1950s, Carr commands the 336th Fighter Interceptor Squadron. Colonel insignia rest on his shoulders. The farm kid from Union Springs now leads younger pilots who grew up reading about the war he already fought. Leadership comes naturally to him. Carr does not command through fear or bravado. He teaches decision-making. He teaches judgment. He emphasizes thinking under pressure rather than memorizing procedure. Manuals are important, he tells them, but reality rarely follows manuals perfectly. This philosophy reflects the same instinct that led him toward a German airfield instead of away from it years earlier. Then Vietnam. Carr is no longer young. He is in his 40s. His hair has gray in it. His body carries the quiet wear of decades in high-performance aircraft. Still, he volunteers to fly combat missions. Vietnam is a different war again. Close air support, low-altitude attack runs. Dense ground fire, no clean front lines. Carr flies the F-100 Super Sabre. The work feels familiar. It echoes the strafing missions of Europe decades earlier, only faster, louder, and more complex. He completes 286 combat missions in Vietnam, 3 wars, 3 generations of aircraft, more than 500 combat missions in total. Through it all, one thing remains constant. Carr never loses his curiosity. He studies aircraft carefully. He asks what they are capable of, then tests those limits methodically. He does not fly recklessly. He flies intentionally. Each maneuver is deliberate, each risk calculated. This mindset becomes his defining trait. When Carr retires in 1973, he leaves active service quietly. There are no grand ceremonies, no public fanfare. He transitions into civilian life as smoothly as he transitioned between aircraft, but flying never leaves him. In 1997, a year before his death, Carr is invited to fly at an air show in Florida at the Fantasy of Flight Museum. He arrives at the controls of a P-51 Mustang. His Mustang, restored, polished, fully operational. The crowd watches as the aircraft approaches low and fast. 50 feet above the ground, 300 knots. The same profile Carr used half a century earlier while escaping Allied gunfire in a stolen German fighter. Age does not slow him. He throws the Mustang through loops and rolls that challenge pilots half his age. High G turns press him deep into the seat. The aircraft responds cleanly, precisely, as if it recognizes the man flying it. When he lands, the crowd erupts. Someone later asks Carr what he was thinking during the flight. His answer is simple: he always thinks about 2 things. What the airplane can do, what he can do. Then he finds out where those to meet. Bruce Ward Carr dies in April 1998 in St. Cloud, Florida. Prostate cancer. He is 74 years old. He is buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Section 64, grave 69-2. His headstone lists his rank, Colonel, United States Air Force. It lists his decorations: Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, Legion of Merit, Distinguished Flying Cross with clusters, Air Medal with clusters, Purple Heart. It lists his wars: World War II, Korea, Vietnam. It does not mention the FW-190. It does not mention for days alone in a frozen forest. It does not mention a belly landing, without landing gear, while friendly guns tracked his aircraft. Some stories are not carved into stone. They live instead in patterns, in decisions repeated across a lifetime, and a pilot who never accepted that his choices were limited to what seemed safe or obvious. Carr was not defined by a single daring escape or a single impossible dogfight. He was defined by how he approached every problem: calm, curious, unwilling to surrender control of his fate. That is the deeper story behind the stolen fighter. Not how he flew it, but why he believed he could. The story of Bruce Carr often gets reduced to a single dramatic act: the stolen German fighter, the low flight back across Europe, the belly landing under friendly guns. But that moment only makes sense when seen as part of a larger pattern. Section 5 is where that pattern tightens and everything Carr has learned finally aligns. By late 1944, the air war over Europe has become a test of endurance rather than innovation. The Allies control the skies most days. German resistance still appears, but usually in smaller numbers and shorter bursts. The danger has not vanished, it has changed shape. Now it lies in complacency, fatigue, and the belief that the enemy no longer has the strength to surprise. Carr never falls into that trap. He understands that desperation makes opponents unpredictable. A wounded enemy can still strike hard if given an opening. He flies every mission with that awareness, never assuming safety, never assuming superiority guarantees survival. The stolen FW-190 becomes part of how others see him, but it also becomes part of how he sees himself. Not as someone who got lucky, but as someone who made a clear decision under pressure and lived with the consequences. That knowledge stays with him every time he climbs into a cockpit afterward. As winter deepens, Carr continues flying combat missions across Germany. Roads are choked with retreating units, rail yards burn. Airfields are cratered and abandoned. The war feels close to ending, yet the danger remains sharp. Anti-aircraft fire is often heavier now, fired by units fighting for time rather than victory. Carr leads flights through this environment calmly. He positions his wingmen carefully. He avoids unnecessary risks. When engagement is unavoidable, he commits fully and decisively. His reputation as a leader grows stronger with every mission. Pilots trust him because his decisions feel grounded. Not impulsive, not theatrical, just correct. Then comes April 2, 1945. The mission begins as routine, armed reconnaissance near Schweinfurt. Clear weather, moderate altitude, nothing unusual on the briefing board. Carr leads from Mustangs across German territory, scanning for movement below and above. The sighting comes suddenly. High above them, the sky is crowded with aircraft. At first, it looks like scattered contacts. Then Carr realizes the truth. It is a massive formation. German fighters stacked in layers, climbing and circling. Messerschmitt 109s and Focke-Wulf 190s mixed together. At least 60 aircraft. Carr counts quickly and accurately. He has learned to do this under pressure. For American fighters, 60 German. The numbers alone should end the discussion. German aircraft hold altitude advantage. They hold numerical advantage. They hold positional advantage. Standard doctrine exists for exactly this situation: disengage, avoid contact, report the formation, preserve your flight. Carr considers those options. Then he considers something else. The German formation is large but loose. The aircraft are not tightly coordinated. They are likely conserving fuel, waiting for orders, possibly preparing to intercept bombers elsewhere. Their attention is forward, not downward. They do not expect attack from below by such a small force. Carr understands confusion is a weapon. He signals engagement. There is no long discussion, no hesitation. His wingmen respond instantly. They trust his judgment because it has carried them through too many dangerous situations to doubt now. The Fr Mustangs climb hard. As they rise into the German formation, surprise becomes their greatest ally. The first few seconds decide everything. Carr positions himself behind a Messerschmitt drifting slightly wide. The German pilot never sees him. A short burst of machine gun fire tears the aircraft apart. Flames and debris scatter through the sky. Carr does not linger. He shifts targets immediately. Another German fighter fills his gun sight. Another burst. Another aircraft falls away. The formation begins to unravel as German pilots try to identify the threat. They do not know how many Americans are attacking. They do not know from where. Carr moves through the chaos with precision. Fire, break, reposition, fire again. Each action feeds the confusion. Each destroyed aircraft amplifies fear among the remaining pilots. Within minutes, the sky is filled with turning, diving, scattering fighters. Discipline collapses. Survival instincts take over. German pilots flee in every direction. Carr destroys 5 enemy aircraft in 3 minutes. The war in Europe ends weeks later. Germany surrenders. Airfields fall silent. Pilots return home or move on to new assignments. For Carr, the war closes one chapter, but confirms something permanent. He is not defined by a single moment of daring. He is defined by consistency under pressure. Section 5 brings the story to its peak tension. The impossible odds, the decisive choice, the result that rewrites expectations. What follows is resolution, reflection, and legacy. Carr has proven what he needed to prove to himself. The sky will never be the same to him again. When the war in Europe ends, the noise fades faster than anyone expects. Airfields that once shook with engines fall quiet. Hangars stand open and empty. Pilots who lived for constant motion suddenly find themselves standing still. For Bruce Carr, the silence feels strange but not unsettling. He has learned how to live inside uncertainty. Peace is simply another condition to adapt to. His record at the end of World War II is extraordinary by any standard. More than 170 combat missions. 14 or 15 confirmed aerial victories depending on the source. Ground targets destroyed, decorations earned for valor and leadership. At 21 years old, he has already lived several lifetimes. Yet what follows is not an ending. Carr remains in uniform. While many wartime pilots return home and leave flying behind, he stays. Aviation is changing too fast, and Carr wants to understand it. The piston engine era is closing. Jet power is arriving. He transitions into the post-war Air Force as smoothly as he once transitioned from trainer to fighter. The fundamentals still apply: energy, position, awareness. Jets remove some margins for error and create new ones. Carr studies them carefully. He becomes part of the Acrojets, one of the earliest American jet demonstration teams. Flying the F-80 Shooting Star, he performs precision maneuvers that push early jet aircraft close to their limits. These flights are not combat, but they are unforgiving. Jet speeds magnify mistakes. There is little time to recover once something goes wrong. Carr does not seek attention. He treats these flights the same way he treated combat missions: preparation, control, respect for the machine. Then another war arrives. Korea erupts in 1950. Once again, Carr finds himself flying in hostile skies. This time the battlefield is mountainous and unforgiving. Weather changes rapidly. Enemy pilots are disciplined and aggressive. The war introduces a new kind of air combat. Carr flies the F-86 Sabre, one of the most advanced fighters of its time. Swept wings, high speed, near supersonic performance. Dogfights now occur at speeds that leave almost no room for hesitation. Carr completes 57 combat missions in Korea. He survives again. By now, he is no longer simply a skilled pilot. He is a leader shaped by experience across radically different eras of flight. He understands what changes and what never does. Technology evolves. Human decision-making remains constant. In the mid-1950s, Carr commands the 336th Fighter Interceptor Squadron. Colonel insignia rest on his shoulders. Younger pilots look to him not as a legend, but as a teacher. His leadership style is direct and practical. He does not glorify risk. He does not preach caution without reason. He teaches judgment. He teaches pilots to think, not just react. He reminds them that manuals describe ideal conditions, not real ones. This lesson comes from personal experience. Carr understands that the most dangerous moments often occur when pilots believe their options are limited, when they assume there is only one correct response. He teaches them to search for alternatives without losing discipline. Then Vietnam. By the time Carr arrives in Southeast Asia, he is 44 years old. His hair is graying. His body carries decades of high-G stress and long hours in cramped cockpits. Still, he volunteers for combat duty. Vietnam is different from every war before it. There are no clean front lines. Threats come from below, from hidden positions, from sudden bursts of fire. Close air support becomes the primary mission. Precision matters more than altitude. Survival depends on timing and awareness rather than speed alone. Carr flies the F-100 Super Sabre. The missions echo those he flew in Europe decades earlier. Low-level attacks, strafing runs. Supporting troops under fire. The environment is hotter, louder, and more complex, but the core challenge remains the same. He completes 286 combat missions in Vietnam. 3 wars, 3 generations of aircraft. More than 500 combat missions across nearly 3 decades. Few pilots in history span aviation this way. When Carr finally retires in 1973, he does so quietly. There is no dramatic farewell, no public celebration. He steps away from active service with the same calm he brought to every cockpit, but flying never truly leaves him. He continues to stay connected to aviation. He follows developments. He visits airfields. He remains curious. The question that guided him as a young pilot never fades. What can this aircraft do? What can I do? In 1997, a year before his death, Carr is invited to participate in an air show at the Fantasy of Flight Museum in Florida. He arrives flying a P-51 Mustang, restored to flying condition. The sight alone is powerful. A World War II fighter returns to the sky with a pilot who once trusted his life to it under fire. The crowd watches as the aircraft approaches low and fast. 50 feet above the ground, 300 knots. The same profile Carr once used to escape both enemy and friendly guns. Age has not taken his edge. Carr flies the Mustang through loops, rolls, and tight turns that demand strength and precision. High G-forces press him into the seat. Younger pilots watching from the ground understand exactly how difficult these maneuvers are. When he lands, the applause is thunderous. Someone later asked Carr what he was thinking during the flight. His answer is simple. He always thinks about what the airplane can do and what he can do. Then he sees where those to meet. Bruce Carr dies in April 1998 in St. Cloud, Florida. Prostate cancer. He is 74 years old. He is buried at Arlington National Cemetery, Section 64. Grave 692. His headstone lists his rank. Colonel, United States Air Force. It lists his decorations. Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, Legion of Merit, Distinguished Flying Cross with clusters. Air Medal with clusters, Purple Heart. It lists his wars. World War II, Korea, Vietnam. It does not mention the Focke-Wulf. It does not mention for days alone in a frozen forest. It does not mention a belly landing, without landing gear, while friendly guns tracked his aircraft. Some stories do not fit on stone. The story of Bruce Carr is often told as a legend. The downed pilot who stole a German fighter and flew it home. The ace who destroyed 5 aircraft in minutes against impossible odds. The man who survived 3 wars. All of that is true. But the deeper story is quieter. It is the story of a pilot who never accepted that his choices were limited to what seemed obvious. A man who understood that fear narrows vision and that survival often depends on widening it again. When Carr stood injured and alone behind enemy lines, surrender was logical. He chose something else. When faced with 60 enemy fighters, retreat was sensible. He chose engagement. Not because he ignored danger, but because he understood opportunity. That mindset carried him through every stage of his life. In the end, Bruce Carr was not defined by a stolen aircraft or a single battle. He was defined by how he approached the unknown, calmly, thoughtfully, willing to act when others froze. That is what remains after the war.